President Bill Clinton at the time was alarmed that his sexual escapades were eroding his support among women. So to deal with both America's concerns and his own political problems, he used his 1996 State of the Union speech to suggest what he called a values agenda. Its essential premise was that the government could help raise kids who would turn out to a better character than he did. The voters he attracted came to be called soccer moms, and their votes propelled Clinton to a large re-election victory. The program focused on issues like family leave, child care, drug use in schools, educational standards, school bus safety, child support enforcement, and tobacco ads aimed at teenagers. Goodbye and good riddance to Joe Camel, the Marlboro Man, and the Virginia Slims woman. He fought for family leave, tough enforcement of child support, standardized tests to assure that schools were doing their job, anti-drug policies near schools, and rating systems to block pornography on television and rate the content in movies. Clinton really didn't like pornography. Then 9/11 hit, and the soccer moms of the 90s became the security moms of the 2000s, focused on keeping their families safe. They rallied behind George W. Bush's agenda. Waving aside civil liberties concerns, they strongly backed the Patriot Act and other steps to fight and win the war on terror, despite Democratic objections. And sure enough, the security moms strongly backed Bush in the election of 2004, making the key difference in his re-election. The soccer security moms are morphing again, switching back to the Republicans as they've become the new values moms. But this time, the issues that are moving them are almost entirely the product of missteps by the Democratic Party. Mothers and fathers are rebelling against the policies and positions of the Democrats and their progressive woke electorate, such as endorsing the elimination of pronouns, letting men turned women compete in women's sports, and teaching young children about homosexuality and transgender surgical change. Here's what one parent discovered while looking at books in her kid's school library.
These books include pedophilia, sex between men and boys. Both books describe different acts. One book describes a 4th grade boy performing oral sex on an adult male. The other book has detailed illustrations of a man having sex with a boy. The illustrations include fellatio, sex toys, masturbation, and violent nudity.
It's outrageous. The rise of more activist parents is not attributable to a terror attack like 9/11 that catalyzed the security moms or bad schools that animated the soccer moms. They became galvanized into a political force to defend against the takeover of our values in schools by a lunatic fringe that was determined to use the school system to indoctrinate our kids to adopt their sexual and racial agenda. Everything is being turned on its head. Instead of encouraging integration and racial tolerance, they want to advance critical race theory that portrayed all whites as racist, not only blaming them for all black poverty, but crediting pretensions to white supremacy for all white success. Instead of using schools to reinforce sexual and moral values, the progressive left wants to use them to indoctrinate young children in sexual diversity. Rather than reinforcing family values and emphasizing the importance of making the nuclear family work, they see it as a useless and obsolete lifestyle, totally disregarding the economic and social impact of raising children on one paycheck rather than two. They could care less about the physical, psychological, and emotional importance of girls' sports, and would sweep away the 40-year pursuit of financial parity to empower trans athletes whose biology assured their competitive success at every turn. The onset of puberty is a time of trauma in childhood, but instead of promoting a healthy adjustment to sexuality, they would use the psychological changes it brings as recruitment tools for prepubescent boys to become girls and vice versa through risky and life-altering hormone treatment and surgery. No matter that no 8-year-old or 9-year-old should be able to make such decisions at their early stage of development. Schools no longer teach history, but work to revise it with the left's ideology of the moment. Thomas Jefferson, who wrote the Declaration of Independence, owned slaves. So did the nation's founder, George Washington. Even Lincoln favored colonization of freed slaves in Africa. Forget that Theodore Roosevelt founded the environmental movement and started the national park system. He was an imperialist. Never mind that Andrew Jackson saved American independence by winning the Battle of New Orleans. He exiled Native Americans. And Christopher Columbus, who discovered half the world, promoted genocide. Our history has no heroes anymore, only varying degrees of villains. Who cares that free market capitalism has dragged half the world out of poverty and uplifted all minorities in all countries? It's just a program of systematic exploitation and tyranny. Disneyland is no longer a safe haven for childhood innocence, but a center to indoctrinate children in woke sexual ethics. Unless any parents seek to avoid the warping of their children's values, the woke left would diminish their educational options by restricting charter schools, curbing school choice, and discouraging homeschooling. As COVID spread and still threatens us, values moms are increasingly unwilling to see their children injected with vaccines, whose safety, particularly for children, is questionable, especially when clinical data shows that young people seem to be less susceptible to the disease. While the woke left seems not to wash our children's brains, but also to inject their bodies. Meanwhile, as our schools are serving to spread racism and sexual anarchy, they're failing at their core mission of education. But the woke left has a solution for declining test scores: eliminate testing. So what if they can't read or write? Schools seem to exist for two reasons. One, to assemble the children in one place so they can be indoctrinated and inoculated. And second, but perhaps more important, that teachers and administrators can be paid, even as they are in schools that are closed. To confront, oppose, and defeat this absurd and self-destructive agenda, parents throughout America are using politics to make themselves heard. Even as they seek to change the president and the governors in Congress, they work to replace the woke leftist school boards with members who agree with our values. This election last year of Glenn Youngkin as governor of Virginia illustrates their growing power in the only language politicians really understand: vote.